dominating inside. Clarkson and Ingles got their vibe on. You look down the numbers, there's not a lot to deny. It's euphoria in Utah. We're talking about it, plus taking your calls on a live edition of Locked on Jazz. Pow! How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. We'll start that again. How's that? Because now the audio's better. Or was it better the whole time? I think it's fine. It is Locked on Jazz. The Jazz have the best record in the NBA. I'm David Locke, giving you extra insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Hope you're doing super. Thanks so much for tuning in. Can't wait to get your chat room going. Can't wait to get going. I got to take a second and thank all of you. Yesterday, if you did not hear, Locked On Podcast Network got acquired by Tegna. We've got great things ahead of us. I'm pretty excited about being a part of this and helping build the next digital sports media outlet. But I want to thank all of you. You guys have been with me, many of you from back to the Google Hangouts, to YouTubes, to 2011 tip-offs, to all these various aspects of things. And, you know, gave me the belief that what we were doing was the right thing. The early success on Locked on Jazz is what drove me to build the network. I got incredible people that joined me thereafter to get us to the next stage. Carl Weinstein, my partner, you've heard about because he used Intercap Lending. Kylie Young was a broadcast assistant, went with us on the ride. And so I want to just thank you. Nothing changes in my life, actually. Hopefully I'm well enough grounded that nothing changes in my life, but from a work standpoint, nothing changes in my life as well. So, really excited to keep rolling. I think we've got some great things we can do for the talent and the hosts of Locked On and build them into, stars. And so pretty excited for that. In the meantime, the Jazz have won 10 straight and that's way better. So let's talk about that. And, you know, last night, we'll talk about last night's ball game to start us off. The thing that jumps out to me about what happened last night is I thought last night was the first time a team came in and said, okay, you're not getting your threes. And I was on 1280 The Zone yesterday and talking with Hans or Jake and Gordon, I think it might have been. Maybe it was Hans and Scotty, the conversation before. And I just kind of said, like, well, when the team decides that they're not going to, you know, give up our threes, then Rudy's going to score 30. So Rudy scored 29. But, you know, that's kind of what's happening here is that all of a sudden, our three-point shooting is so prevalent that last night, Alice came out and said, okay, we're going to guard this as holding to your shooters, not letting you get your catch and shoot threes, not letting you get your what makes you great. And instead, what the Jazz just did was pummeled them with Rudy Gobert having 20 first half points. And, you know, Rudy was on his way to a 35-point night last night. And the Jazz end up crazily. The other part of it is by the end of the night, the Jazz have taken 41 threes and made 39%, which is kind of where we've been all season long. So that by you're right, we didn't get our 50% of our shots as threes. We just got our kind of regular 40% amount. And the other aspect of it was that, you know, we're going to be able to shoot our threes kind of no matter what if we're willing to take all of them off the bounce. But even last night, when you look at assisted threes, which are it could be off the bounce, we ended up with 9 assisted threes last night. So Ingles plays pick and roll with Gobert, and they're not leaving anyone. And Joe ends up with 8 assists, all of them for like dunks or layups. Mike Conley ends up with 6 assists. 4 of them are for threes. Royce O'Neal gets 2 of them for threes. Bojan throws out for 3. Rudy throws out for 3, and Juwan Morgan does. So we weren't at our usual level of things. No, there's no question. They changed the way we play and what we want to do. Our average on a given night on catch and shoot threes right now is we're shooting 42% on catch and shoot threes as a team and getting about 26 of them a night. It's a lot. It's a lot better than what we were. Last night, they held us down to 23, and we only went 8 of 23 on those. So we only shot 35% on our catch and shoot. So they their game plan worked last night. This is what's crazy. This is like the third or fourth time where someone's game plan has actually worked against us, and we had an answer offensively to just completely shut them down. On an average night, we're taking 15 off the bounce threes, which is a ton. We're the second most of anyone in the NBA. Only Portland takes more. And we're only hitting 36% of those. That's actually, high. That's actually a high number for us. Last night, we took 18 and we hit 8 of them. So if I'm Dallas, the guess of what you're playing last night and the game you're playing is, all right, well, you're not going to be able to make those at that high rate. And we made a few extra shots last night. So it'll be interesting to see what they do coming back when we play them again on Friday. Is do they come back with the same approach, which is, you know what, like we're not, we don't really buy this, but the fact of the matter is, by the end of that night, we're ended up with Rudy with 29 points. And so that's what they gambled that last night we couldn't go 8 of 18 and off the bounce threes. We did exactly that. Okay. They forced us into a few of our catch and shoots into off the bounce. We actually made them. We ended up with 43 point attempts, which is pretty awesome still. And Rudy's got 29 points. The other thing I've talked a lot about that fits into last night is what I was asked the other day by Hands, again, I think it was by Jake, and this was by Jake and Gordon. And the question by Jake and Gordon was, is there a stat that jumps out to you about what the Jazz are doing? And I said, the only thing I really have right now that's maybe is the dominating quarters. So anything under 100 defensively and over 120 is a dominating quarter. So we opened the night last night with a 123 first quarter offense and a 76 defensive rating in the first quarter. I mean, that's an incredible number. We kind of stopped defending then. Because, frankly, you don't actually have to defend after that. But our offense puts up a 161 in the second quarter. The defense stops defending. It's a 129. So now we're playing outscore you. We're good enough to do that for a while. Third quarter, we kind of do the same thing. It's a 120 to a 124, but that's still a pretty dominating offensive quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, we're somewhat into garbage time, and our offense goes to 69.6, and our whole number gets skewed, and we don't look nearly as good as we did. But if you actually start to look at these games and just take the first three quarters before they're blowouts, frankly, we're up 20. The game is over. This is not close. You take a look at, here's the numbers through three quarters last night. And we start running these through a bunch of our games. It's pretty dominating. Our offensive rating last night was a 135, and our defensive rating was a 107. That's a crazy number. Those are crazy good numbers. This kind of gets to my second point that I want to bring up and we'll have for you coming up here, is that we have the best record in the NBA. We've won 10 straight. The metrics all play along right now. Now, we're early in the season. You have the best record in the NBA. It's not like you're going to find flaws. Our effective field goal percentage is a little high. Our defensive effective field goal percentage is a little low. Those two things are going to come together at some extent here. But right now, there's not a lot of things. I'll get into it. We'll get the questions coming up here on the show. Have you listened to Locked On Bets? They nailed the 76ers beating the Lakers yesterday. Crazy. Your boy Q hosted with Lee Sterling. They're having a great time. It's Locked On Bets. It's a 15-minute daily show on the gambling world. It's brought to you by our friends at betonline.ag. That's betonline.ag. And a welcome bonus of 50%. That's pretty good. That's free money with the promo code Locked On. So to go to betonline.ag, use the promo code Locked On, and you'll get a 50% welcome bonus. That's a pretty darn good deal. So go do it right now. Get out of the sidelines. Get into the action. Have some fun with the people over at betonline.ag. NBA action, college basketball action all taking place, and the Super Bowl prop bets every day. this week on Locked On Bets for you to know about. Today's show is also brought to you by Grip 6 belts. I'm not wearing my Grip 6 belt right now, but if I was wearing a belt and not sweats like we all have for the pandemic, I'd be wearing my Grip 6 belt because that's my belt of preference. With no flaps and no holes and the custom fit that makes Grip 6 great, the Utah company has changed the way belts are worn. The interchangeable buckles with the interchangeable straps means that you get 2 buckles, you get 2 straps, you actually have 4 belts. It's kind of cool. You play along with it. I like the Ninja Black belt, the Craftsman I've told you about, the Honeycomb in the Conservation series. Those are my 3 favorite buckles that I wear the most. Yesterday, I just wore my silver set up with my gray suit. Thought it looked all right. Check it out. It's grip6.com. Promo code Locked On gets you 15% off. That's grip6.com with promo code Locked On. Speaking of Locked On today is your new daily show. About a quick 20-minute run through of all the things happening in the sports world. So feel free to jump aboard, grab that. I believe they'll take a little bit of Locked On now from the 10-game win streak. Hey, it's my guy from Grip 6 Belts. Q. I want to get some of the team custom belts. What are the chances you could get those to them? I cannot interact with the guys, but I can get them to them. So yes. Hey, it's my guy from Grip 6 Belts. We got to get Quinn Snyder to pop his Grip 6 belt, and he's got some and wear it in his new black outfit. So, their Johnny Cash look. All right, let's go to the questions and get them rolling here. Daniel says, can the Jazz beat Dallas again without Mitchell and Favors? Well, hopefully Derek comes back. Sore back, need a day. It's fine. It's interesting because David James pointed this out. The number 1 seed, if this is really in play, which the way we're playing seems to be, we're going to go through stuff, right? We're going to go through a COVID. At some point, we've been really good about it, but everyone seems to have gone through it, whether it's contact tracing, and it can be so simple, right? It can be just a guy on your security staff. It can be a guy on your medical staff. It can be a guy on your coaching staff. It can be a player. It can be anything. It can probably be your bus driver, frankly. It just can come in from so many different directions, and it's so prevalent that I think you can end up having a COVID problem of tracing, and then you're missing games or playing extra games or missing guys or, so that's going to happen. We'll guys are going to start to get beat up. Like, Mike Conley's playing brilliantly, but like he's 32 years old and we're playing 20 games this month. Like at some point we're gonna have to start resting some guys. You don't want to break the momentum with it. It's probably really hard on the medical staff to try to figure out what the right answers there are. Joe's got the Achilles thing. We got an older group. We got to keep an eye on it. So we're going to slow down at some point just because of the grind of the season. But I do think that point that David James had the other day, like if you get the number 1 seed, then you don't have to play both the Lakers and the Clippers. That's a big deal. Now, Denver's clicked in. There are 4 teams in the West. It's really no different than last year. Lakers, Nuggets, Jazz, Clippers. 4 teams in the West are better than everyone else. We'll get caught up by somebody else at some point and try to convince ourselves, but I don't think so. If we maintain the best record in the league going into the All-Star break, who do you think would get voted in the All-Stars this year or from our team? Well, if there is an All-Star game, it also means Quinn Snyder coaches it, which would be cool for the staff. And his staff gets to go. I think Rudy and Donovan. I don't think we end up with 3 All-Stars. So I don't think there's any chance that I don't think we get like Jordan. I don't think makes the All-Star team. Mike, I don't think makes the All-Star team. Locke, I've noticed there have been more blowouts this year. Is it just me or is that accurate? Could that have something to do with no fans? So Ty, there are more blowouts. There have been, particularly early in the year, there were a lot of hypotheses of why. There's the belief that the lack of training camp did it, that guys just weren't ready physically. There was a belief that the COVID protocols, that guys are just missing a lot more games has led to it. But I'm with you. I actually think it has to do with no fans. I think that, and particularly because you're seeing home teams get blown out. Clippers got blown out by 50 at home. But Dallas has gotten blown out at home. Teams are getting blown out at home. I think the players actually not wanting to disappoint home crowd is more real than you would probably think it is. And, I wonder whether or not our 1,500 fans are giving us an advantage. It's hard. Home court advantage. There's only 2 teams that have ever really shown to have home court advantage over NBA history. That's the Jazz and the Nuggets because of altitude. And that both of them have been able to have outperformed their road record, their overall record at home over the years consistently. So we have the altitude advantage. Is it showing right now? I thought last night some of the Dallas guys looked who had just come back, Dorian Finney-Smith, and who'd been in the protocol, looked noticeably tired. I thought the same thing was true with some of the New Orleans guys on the first time. I mean, guys are just grabbing shorts. Ron opened the broadcast last night with a great point, saying, hey, these guys have all been in COVID protocol for weeks. We should run them early. It was like the first time Ron Boone's dropped the COVID protocol game plan, but he was absolutely 100% right that was part of it. So yeah, I think there are more blowouts. I think there's a lot of reason, but I think the road teams last I checked had won more games than the home teams. So that just the no fans has really changed anything. What move, if any, could we make before the deadline? Boy, I don't know, Daniel. Right now we're rolling, so it'd be hard to it would be hard to do that. We'd probably, like Torrey Craig is on the end of the bench in Milwaukee, not playing right now because he can't shoot. Like Dorian Finney-Smith's a great defender, but he couldn't shoot. Like killed them last night. Having non-shooters hard. But if there was some sort of athlete of that sort that we could add to our bench, it'd be great. Do we need a backup point guard? Shaq Harrison in his, garbage time hasn't looked like he quite gets it the way we want to play, but that's a pretty hard way to tell. We have Donovan, we have Joe, and we have Mike as our point guards. A little depth there, maybe. Yeah, but I hate to say this, but we're in the tax, and anytime you add someone, it's pretty expensive. And then if you're really making a big time player, we don't have a wasted contract that's not playing, right? We don't have someone who's making a bunch of money on our bench who we want to move to go get somebody else. I'm not sure you're changing the chemistry of this team. Are you bummed and missing the powder day? I am. I've skied a lot this year though. I am bummed. I've skied only the bad snow, but I have some business stuff I have to do in relation to yesterday. And I'm going to guess the trade-off on that is probably the benefit of doing the work. Any word on when Donovan will be back? No, he's in the concussion protocol, and that can be anything, right? That could be tomorrow or that could be 3 weeks. I mean, depends. Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm just trying to say that's the reality. Let's go. Number one team in the NBA, number one podcast, I love it. Gotta love it. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. The Jazz are rolling. It is certainly fun. Let's take another question. Let's get the number one seed and let the LA teams kill each other in West semis. Go Jazz from Greece. We're 20% of the way through the season. Here's the one I've always talked about. When you're at the 25% of the way through the season, when you're at the 20 game mark of the NBA season, I've always said that's the moment you stop, look at the standings. You'll have 14 of the 16 playoff teams, and you'll know who's really good and who's not. Now, this year's a little funky with the COVID protocol, but we're at that point on a 72-game schedule. So Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Indiana, Brooklyn, Boston are the 5 best teams in the East. That's legit. Like, that's played itself out. Miami's a mess due to COVID and injuries, but maybe just hung over from the bubble. Cleveland, Atlanta, New York are the 8 playoff teams. It's really now a game, they should change. They have a little line under 8. You really should put the first line under 6 and the next line under 10 now because you have the play-in games. Toronto's 7-11. That, they're not in the playoff picture. I think that's got to be concerning to them. They might shake it up. Charlotte, Miami, Detroit, Washington. If you're looking for the top 8 teams, 7 of these teams should be set. Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Indiana, Brooklyn, Boston. And then Cleveland, Atlanta, New York. So maybe 2 of those get thrown out, but and maybe Orlando or Chicago, but the separations happen. Toronto and Miami, the only ones. On the West, it's Utah, LA, Clippers, Denver, top 4. Like, it's set. Those are the 4 best teams. It's happened. It happens by this point of the season. This is where it's all legit. Phoenix is 8-8. Like, they've lost 7 of 10. It's not stunning to me. They were really bad last year. Their bubble 8-0 was somewhat kind of misleading. And they're out of the playoff picture right now. Memphis is a stunning 7-6. The Warriors are 10-8. Give them their average, above average. San Antonio's 10-8. Portland's 9-7. Who's not in it right now? Dallas, because of COVID, is 8-10. You have to, I think, recognize that, but that's probably it. I would guess that 7 of our 8 Western Conference teams are set, and the question is whether Dallas catches Memphis or not. Or Phoenix catches Memphis. But only one of them, I think, is, I think San Antonio is what they are. Golden State, Portland. Here's what's interesting, by the way. We're 14-4. It feels like we haven't played that many good teams. I'll explain why that's not really true when we continue. Today's show is brought to you by rockauto.com. When you're out shopping for your car needs, you don't need to head over to the brick and mortar store and have them separate the prices based on whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a professional. Have you only have the selection of what's in their store? You can instead stay home and go to rockauto.com. Here's an example. Fuel pump assembly of a 2005, 2010 Honda Odyssey. It's a Delphi FG 1456 fuel pump. It's $354 at Advance Auto Parts. It's $216 at Rock Auto. $354 versus $216. All right, I rounded up. $354 versus $217. That's a big difference. Chain stores have different prices for different tiers. For professionals, do-it-yourselfers, Rock Auto's prices are the same for everyone and always reliably low. It's a unique old-school website that's easy to navigate. Quickly check out the parts available for your vehicle. Choose the brand, specifications, and prices you prefer. It's rockauto.com. Right, locked on in the promo code of How Do You Hear About Us? Rockauto.com. Right, locked on in the How Do You Hear About Us? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need. Rockauto.com. Built Bar, protein bar, candy bar. Taste makes it hard to tell. Macros tell you it's a protein bar and it's healthy for you. The Built Bar is truly amazing. Built Puffs now available as well. I haven't had Built Puffs yet. I have to check those out. It's a new product. They just keep expanding. I do my Built Boost all the time. But Built Bars are there for you if you like the nuts, the peanut butter chocolate, one our taste test in the family. I'll go with the coconut or the double chocolate. Even the raspberry or the orange are wins for me on the regular Built Bar flavors. Caramel brownies, an obvious win. Cookies and cream has been their latest flavor. Check it all out. BuiltBar.com. Promo code is locked on. It's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and it's got incredible macros and keeps you amazingly healthy right now. 100% real chocolate, 100% really, really good for you at BuiltBar.com. Promo code locked on gets you 20% off. Check it out today at BuiltBar.com. Locked on NBA today. I did it with Ben Golliver, so we've got that for you coming up as well. We ran through the NBA, plus our local experts give you their NBA Now reaction to the teams. It feels like we haven't played anyone because of the streak. Okay, so we played the Clippers. We were up 20 in the second half, won. Played the Nuggets, played a battle with Denver, won. Blew out Portland on the opening night. We're up 20. That's the 5th seed. 6 seeds Golden State. We were up 20. Beat San Antonio on that road trip. I can't recall whether we were up 20 or not. I can't remember that game at all. I have no game recall at all. I have the worst memory of like anyone in the world. It's kind of crazy. But so San Antonio, I feel like we blew them out. Shot like 23s, crushed them, made them look silly. We're up by 20, right? Didn't we? That's my memory. Yeah, we won 130, 109. All right. So despite that interruption, let's continue this game. Beat the Clippers, we're up 20. Beat the Nuggets. Beat the Blazers, we're up 20. Beat the Warriors, we're up 20. Beat San Antonio, we're up 20. We lost to Phoenix, who's the 9th seed. We beat Dallas, we're up 20. We scrambled with Oklahoma City, who's 8-9 so far. Over in the top of the Eastern Conference, we beat Milwaukee, we're up 20. Lost to the Nets. Cavaliers are the 6th seed. Beat them, if I remember correctly, we were up 20. I think we won by 30. Beat Atlanta, who's their 7th seed. If I remember correctly, we were up 20. I think we won by 24. The Knicks we split with. Right? Like of the teams that are in the playoffs that we've played so far, we've been up 20 on all of them. Milwaukee and the Clippers are the two teams that like, oh, well, you know, those are real wins. They were outside this win streak, and I kind of feel like we forgot about them, and then we laid the eggs afterwards, so we definitely forgot about them. But the fact of the matter is, like, go back to those two games. We played the Clippers. We led for 42 minutes of the 48. We went on a 17-0 run. We led by 20 in the third. Against the Bucks, we led for 42 minutes of the game as well. We went on a 12-0 run. We led by 20 in the fourth, and we stretched it to 25. Like, there's not a lot right now you can go look at and say that there's something not completely legitimate about what the Jazz are doing, and we're 25% of the way through the season. And this is like every indicator ever about the league is that these are the games that, like, when you're going to evaluate teams, you go find the data from today, and this will tell you what the teams are. We have the number one differential in the league on non-blowout time. We're the fourth best or the third best offense, the second best defense. The Lakers are right behind us. They're kind of coasting. They have the seventh best offense and the best defense. Okay, that's legit. Milwaukee has the second best offense and 12th best defense. They're the third best team. Clippers are the fourth best team. They have the best offense in the NBA, the 19th ranked defense. And Denver's the fifth best team in the NBA. They have the fourth best offense and the 18th ranked defense. And Brooklyn's the sixth. Like, this is absolutely 100% right. Like, you look at these numbers and you start to evaluate, we're 25% way through the season. This is exactly right. And in the right order. The only one that doesn't intuitively make sense is the Jazz. Well, are we really that big an outlier, or are we just way better than anyone thought we were going to be, including me? I just did not see this coming at all. I saw the opposite. I was panicked. Right? I mean, if I told you that the best teams in the NBA were in this order, Lakers, Milwaukee, Clippers, Denver, Brooklyn, Boston, everyone in the world would say, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's the six best teams in the NBA. Like, this tells you that Philadelphia might not be all that despite their win last night. Tip of the hat to Lee Sterling on Locked On Bets for nailing that. That was impressive. The one thing that, like, looks different is Utah's number one with the best differential, the third best offense, the second best defense, the best record. Again, our effective field goal percentage is 3 percentage points better than the rest of the league. Average. All right, that's not like actually that big a difference. Our defensive effective field goal percentage it's 3.4 points better than the rest of the league. That's going to come down. We probably have to force a turnover at some point in time. But that number is going to come down a little bit. It's not. We're going to allow 51% effective field goal percentage on the season. Probably 51.7 would be my guess. We're at 50.1. So one more shot a night is going to start going in against us. Okay, then our differential is not 11.5. We're not like one of the 5 greatest teams in the history of the NBA. Our differential is 9. We're then as good as anyone in the league. Maybe not as good as the Lakers. I just can't, like, there's just not, like, I am the biggest, like, go find the numbers to prove that it's not real. So to your question here, Daniel Olson, what is the best seed we can realistically get? The 1. Like, realistically, I think we're in play for it. We're more impressive every night. No Don, no favors. Boyan's still struggling. Really excited. This team just ran a good team out of the gym. We're running everyone out of the gym right now. Absolutely running everyone out of the gym in every game all year. That's like my point. We're up 20 on the Clippers. We're up 20 on the Bucks. We're up 20 on the Warriors. We're up 20 on the Hawks. We're up 20 on the Spurs. You know who we haven't been up 20 on is the Lakers because we haven't played them yet. We'll find out. I don't know that we can go up 20 on the Lakers. I'm pretty concerned about the Clippers. We didn't go up 20 on Denver. You know why? Because they're really good. Like, as much as I talk about the 1 seed, that means a second-round seed against Denver in the playoffs, and that sucks too. But I think we can beat them, and it'd be a hell of a series. Brandon Whiteside wants to know if we can get Kevin Love. We should forever banish Brandon Whiteside from ever being on the show. Oh, why? Why would we move a $30 million contract to Kevin Love right now? And what would he bring us? What's the injury history with other players that have had that same injury, and how long will they get it right? If you're talking about Bojan Bogdanovic, the injury history on Bojan is hard to tell because the other players, Xavier Henry, Antoine Jameson, there's another one, all were at weird stages of their career. None of them came back. And none of them came back from it. But all of them were at weird stages of their career. Benson Moore, why don't you give Doak minutes with favors out? Because Juwan Morgan's better. Juwan Morgan played pretty well last night. You mentioned our brutal strength of schedule before the season started. How's that look now after further into the season? James, that's a great point. When the schedules came out, the Jazz were one of the 2 or 3 hardest schedules in the league for the first half of the season. Toronto, if I remember correctly, was the other one. Marcus Judd, this is a great question. What does Dallas change up next game? Let us shoot more threes. Actually, if I'm Dallas, I would just try to do the same thing and do it better and try to defend Rudy better, stick to our three-point shooters. The other thing the Jazz did last night, they did two other things that were brilliant last night. They just attacked Dallas's bigs in the open court. Like Kristaps, like, so defensively, the first change I make for Dallas is if I see Kristaps isolate, I got to bring help. But then I'm kicking the three-point shooters. So, I mean, I don't know what the answer on these things are, how you stop the Jazz right now on this. This was the number one offense in the league from December 24th to March 11th last year for a reason. So the Jazz just went and got Dallas's bigs in the open court and just attacked them last night. Got them in open space and just attacked them. Kristaps can't move. Dwight Powell's coming off the Achilles. He's a really good athlete, but he's coming off the Achilles. They just attacked him all night and took advantage of it. Kristaps is not very good laterally. That's how Rudy slid by him for 29 points. And so the minute you bring in help to that, now the three-point shooters are open. So I actually would say that to some extent, like if I'm Dallas, I just try to do what I did better, but that's a really unnerving concept. If it stops working early in the game, that's the answer. You might just change things up a little bit in a lot of ways. Andy says the old slogan, live by the three, die by the three, doesn't apply when you have good shooters, or it should be a playoff concern. So my theory on this is if we're really a 40% three-point shooting team, which is what we've now been for 2 years, on the night where you're like 3 of 18 from three, what you actually have to do is take enough threes to get to enough sample size to get to your 40%. I just don't believe in living and dying by the three. I think you live and die by the two just as much as you live and die by the three. Certainly you have a larger variance when the shot average is 40%, but our difference is between 40% is difference between 40% and like 50%. It's not actually a large variance difference, right? If you're taking 40 shots and they're all twos, maybe you make 20 of them, and we're taking 40 shots at 40%. So we're making 16 instead of 20. We're just doing it for way more points. And so we have 4 more misses in there. It's also why some of our offensive rebounding is more important and our transition defense is important. The problem is that you end up with some more rebound playing off misses than you would. That's the 3-2 game that nobody talks about, is that if you're playing for threes, you're playing defense off 2 or 3 more misses than you would otherwise, and we're not as good that way. Kellen says, Locke, I absolutely love you're my podcast guy. I religiously listen every day. I truly like the way it's way better to be a Jazz fan when I hear all the stats. Grace, overall pass you do. Keep up the awesome work and go Jazz. Well, that is awfully nice of you. Let's wrap on that. That makes us all feel good. At least makes me feel good. Thank you guys all very much again. I appreciate all your support of Locked On Jazz over the years. We did this together. It's been amazing. We've got next steps to go. We're going to turn all of our Locked On podcast next. That's my mission. I'll just say it right now. My mission for the next few years is to turn all these incredible Locked On Podcast Network hosts into stars so that they're recognizable names in their market. They're the lead expert covering their team. We're going to do it through multiple platforms. We're going to do it with Tegna, and we're going to turn all these people into stars, and I can't wait to do it. Thank you all for your support. Yesterday was an incredible day. And today's my 20th anniversary. So how about that? That's a pretty good little stretch here. Have a great one. And the Jazz have won 10 in a row, the best team in the NBA. What else could we need? Powder skiing. I could be skiing. All right. I didn't get everything in one day. Have a great one. Go listen to Locked On Today now, or Locked On NBA with myself and Ben Golliver.